I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, January the 8th, 2008 meeting of the Glendale Redevelopment Agency. Mr. City Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
Agency members: Najarian.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Yusefian. Here. Chairman Draymond.
Here. I would also like to extend my Christmas and New Year's wishes to everyone out there, everyone watching at home, and my colleagues on the dais, as well as city staff. Mr. City Clerk, could you please give us your report?
The agenda for the January 8th, 2008 regular meeting of the Glendale Redevelopment Agency was posted on Thursday, January 3rd, 2008 on the bulletin board outside of City Hall.
Thank you very much. All right. Let's have the first item, please.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. The minutes are approved.
Should be an abstention.
I will
We
abstain.
do have one abstention. Next item, please.
Next item is oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Members of the redevelopment agency may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The matter may be referred to staff through the executive director for investigation and report.
Okay, I have one card for oral communications. It's Herbert Milano. Happy New Year, Mr. Milano.
Happy New Year, Mr. Draymond. My name is Herbert Milano, members of the Redevelopment Agency and city staff. For many years, my interest in the Redevelopment Agency stemmed from one particular and significant interest, and that is the interest of ensuring that an opportunity that we have with the Glendale Central Park be maximized to a true urban park. It is, adjacent to the redevelopment agency. And as I noticed the type of investments made by redevelopment agencies in other cities in California, that they have made significant inroads to creating true urban places. There are many organizations in the United States that are very concerned with regard to the creation of proper urban space. And it's through my studies that I began to recognize that the city, in its various different sectors, called the recreational the RPAs, recreational planning areas, that many areas of Glendale, of which the redevelopment agency is part of, have had a significant shortage of parkland. And it is as I began to study and open up this onion and take a look inside as to what situation we have, I find a consistent disregard to the needs of a large segment of the population with regard to that. Now, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, during the council races, I talked to most of you with regard to your commitment to that particular park, to the expansion of that park. And during this last council election, I pretty much rephrased that particular issue, and I have obtained, personally and in public, a commitment to that expansion. Now, this coming March, if things or the plans of the city go the way they are intended, you'll be breaking ground on a building that will take place right there in that park, taking up a significant portion of the green space into a building and parking. At the end of the day, we will not have the type of urban park that the city deserves, especially when you consider the increase in population from all this new development that is coming on board. And I think it is the right thing to do, to increase that and take that opportunity and not lose it. I personally do not believe that park impact fees are a necessary structure if we are continually allocating the right amount of park space, from the city's general fund. Unfortunately, what I seem to find is that whenever there's new development taking place and new taxes come in for property tax, new taxes come in from sales tax, new taxes come in from the occupancy tax, when I look at the numbers of the city's funds, it seems as if all of that money goes right into payroll and pensions. And the residents of Glendale are left holding the bag. So beautiful buildings come on board, and what does the resident get? Very little to show for it except the traffic congestion and the lack of parking. And that's documented, and is documented in the EIRs for the last 12 years. And so it is my suggestion, and the reason why I have taken the action that I have taken with regard to my challenging those EIRs is not specifically to those buildings and the developers, but rather to force the attention of the City Council to truly address the opportunities that we have and not lose them. And I wanted to at least clarify that intention. And that's why I've taken it upon myself to take this particular course of action. Now, I'm very appreciative of the additional funding that is coming in through Mr. Quintero's efforts and Mr. Najarian and everyone on the dais to ensure that we get the tax increment money into parks. But Central Park is essential because of the very high density that we have in downtown. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Milano. I don't have any other cards for,
Just to be clear, the tax increment money will have to be spent on parks, is that correct?
Mr. Quintero, the policy that the agency and city council adopted sets aside 75% of the tax increment that is generated from housing projects to be used for parks and libraries.
Right, and then the developer fees, same way.
The developer fees are definitely will be. Every year, we'll give you a report on that revenue that comes in and projects that it might be used for.
And we're going to touch on the commercial tax increment at a later meeting as
It comes
well.
up later this month.
Right.
all right, any comments before we move on? No, okay. I'd like to close oral communications. Let's have the next item.
And under his business agenda at 6A is Director of Development Services regarding proposed hotel development to be located at 225 West Wilson Avenue. At 6A1 is motion authorizing the Executive Director to execute an exclusive negotiating agreement with Comar Investments, LLC.
Okay. I have a hand from
Move
colleague
6A1.
here.
Second.
All right. Mr. Weaver.
Comment. I will be voting against this. I want to explain my rationale. It has absolutely nothing to do with Comar. Some time back, we were approached by Comar for the Panda Inn site, parking lot there. Having been through this kind of process before with Americana twice, I found that competitive bidding from different groups to see who would provide the best deal for the city was a very good thing to do. When Comar approached on the Panda Inn site and asked the city to give their land, not private land, but to give the city land, to give exclusive rights, I objected to that too. Ultimately, there were two bidders on that, or applicants on it, and it went the other way. Comar did not get it. Now, this site has been identified by Comar, another publicly held parking lot area, for Comar exclusivity. I think it ought to be competitive so the city can get the best deal. It's not a question of private land, like in the media on Wilson and Brand. This is public property, and the city deserves to get the best deal they can. And giving exclusivity does not necessarily grant that, although Comar might be the best. I know they have a very good reputation. It's not that, it's the process. So I will be voting against it.
All right, Mr.
So what we're doing today is approving a negotiation agreement. So in fact, we're going to get the best deal as we negotiate with Comar. But before we vote on it, I'd like to hear from the architect and if any of the developer
Well,
reps.
Mr. Quintero, we do have some speakers actually on
Okay.
6A, and we'll get to that. And I would have gone there directly, except Mr. Weaver had his hand up and wanted to speak. So let's go to the public on this, if you don't mind. Let's hear from Mr. Milano.
Mr. Draymond, members of the agency, my name is Herbert Milano. I want to state that I'm not a person who is averse to development in the city of Glendale. I have seen, this, today especially, as I was driving down Brand Boulevard, and looking at the way the city has changed into truly a what I think is a well-designed, magnificent mid-sized city. What I am concerned about is that the objectives of the city that it takes on from, let's say, 1 year, that it continues on to future years. So, for example, when the city decided to provide these agreements to provide funding in terms of land to Caruso, the objective was to energize the city in such a way that it will make the surrounding areas attractive to additional investment. So my question oftentimes is, well, should the city be subsidizing any additional projects in the future if the objective of that significant investment was made precisely to be attractive to others? My concerns with regard to any type of additional construction in Wilson is that we be clear and honest with regard to the impacts on traffic. We all know the significant bottleneck that we have on Brand and Wilson. We have 8 feet to 10 feet of eastern-bound traffic, and I do not see right now a way that we can solve that problem, but you've got city engineers that may have to think very, very hard about the increased amount of congestion that we already are experiencing. And so I'm not averse with regard to the development. Are we really receiving clear and measurable state of traffic on the roads? Because, we don't want to face ourselves with the increased congestion. Again, I'm not averse to any of these projects of bringing additional hotels and supporting a dynamism that can exist with the Americana. But at least I'd like to see that when proposals are made and EIRs are presented, that they be honest and clear and tell us exactly where we're going to be and how it's going to be mitigated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We also have a card from Barry Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and the agency, and Barry Allen. And I actually had hoped that we would hear from the staff report, but that's okay. I think that listening to Mr. Weaver and Mr. Milano, that at this point we don't know whether or not Comar is going to offer to buy that land, lease that land, or do whatever with that land. So unless it was something that was in closed session that we know that they're asking you to give the land, well, then I guess we don't know, unless there was just a slip of the tongue. But regardless of that, just recently, a few days ago, I was speaking with one of the largest taxpayers' revenue sources in this city. And they spoke about hotels. And they are so excited that Glendale is going to have several excellent hotels in the downtown area to provide services to the Americana, to the Galleria, and to other buildings as we see them go in. And I think this is a step in the right direction to provide what we're looking for in vibrancy in the city, of bringing in fresh people, new money. And I think that this is one of the things that are going to be absolutely necessary to see our downtown grow. I think the potential Comar project, the Amity City Center 2 project, the Intracorp, the Alexander, I think those are things that are really going to give Glendale its place on the map, over and above having a rose float. Thank you. I'm Barry Allen.
Thank you. That's the only other speaker I have on this. Mr. Yusefi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In response to the speaker, I just wanted to let the public know it's on our second page of the summary background. I'll read from the page. Construct and develop in conjunction with the IHG, the 180-room Hotel Indigo. Lease the property on a long-term basis at fair market value determined by an appraisal. No subsidy or TOT sharing, and replace current city-owned parking on site within the project. Those are the terms that Comar has basically given to us. So the answer to you, Mr. Allen, the property is not being sold, it's being leased. I think many cities are doing the same exact thing, which is they're holding on to their properties, they're leasing them long-term because they've come to understand patches of dirt are getting harder and harder to find. So I thought hopefully that would answer your questions.
And I will shockingly make a note that, Mr. Allen, you did not read this report?
Yes, you did. You missed that section.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right. Mr. Lansfame, do you have anything for us that we need to see?
No, in the report, Mr. Yusefian outlined the general terms upon which the negotiations will be based. This is a 6-month exclusive negotiating agreement upon which we would only deal with this one developer. There are certain submittals that we're asking of the developer, namely a pro forma, a preliminary design, franchise agreements with the operator. There are supplementary reports that we will get every 2 weeks, so we know the progress that they're making with the hotel operator and on the project. And then finally, we've asked for a $50,000 deposit to cover the agency's expenses in investigating the viability of this project. With that, staff is recommending approval of the exclusive negotiating agreement with Comar.
All right. I have a card from Arnie Rothsberger, and it's to answer questions only. And the reason I raise it at this time is because my colleague, Mr. Quintero, had asked that he would like to hear from perhaps the architect or others.
All I'm interested in is just so the public understands the vision that the architect has in mind for this corner and what exactly it is that...
Just so the public also understands, we're not voting today to approve a design or to discuss a design. We're here to vote about authorizing the executive director to execute an exclusive negotiating agreement with Comar. In other words, to get into formal negotiations. That's what we're voting on here today.
Start.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Aram Alajajian. I'm the project architect to be the proposed project. Normally, I speak when I have plans in front of me, but this is an unusual case just to give you a briefing on where we're at. The property itself, as it describes in the report, it's 17,800 square feet, a lot that has 60 parking spaces right now on the property. We will be replacing this 60 parking spaces within the parking structure of the proposed hotel. As well as it was said, no subsidy was asked from the city. Comar Investment as a developer, probably this is one of the single occasions that the developer will come across not to ask any subsidy, for the project such as this size of being anywhere from 150 to 180 rooms. Indigo Hotel has expressed their interest, and I believe the staff has the copy of the franchise and management agreements that being negotiated with the Comar Investments. All I can tell you that we've been working very closely with Intercontinental Hotel Architects, and they're very happy with the plan that is pretty soon will be submitted to the staff for the review. We're going to be within the envelope of the zoning and planning codes. We will be complying everything that there is, basically to accommodate this hotel. And we have months ago, or maybe a year or 2 years ago, we have submitted the study which shows that there is about, at that time, was about 3,000 room hotel requirement within the cities, Tri-City, Burbank, Glendale, and Pasadena. And looking at the neighboring city, and Burbank just completed their Marriott hotel, and they're really moving ahead of us. So I think it's very important for Glendale City to have his hotels up at the time, because this is a good market right now for the hotel. If you have any questions, I will be very happy to answer them.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Alajajian? Thank you very much.
Well, I just have a comment on top of that.
Absolutely.
I would like to commend Comar on its perseverance through this process. We got a little bit of the history from Mr. Weaver that you did have an interest in in another location. However, you did yield to the wishes of the city, requests of the city and of the media group, and rather than pack up and leave town, you did search for another suitable location. I think you found one, and we look forward to entering into the exclusive negotiating agreement with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm also very excited about this negotiation agreement, and I hope it will come to fruition. I think, number one, the Intercontinental Hotel Group is an excellent organization with an extensive reservation system, and then this Hotel Indigo, I think, is going to attract the kind of sort of entertainment and younger, trendier person that I think is going to spend their money in downtown Glendale, and I think that's what we're looking for. Between the four-star hotel on the corner and this hotel and any other potential hotels in this downtown, I think it's going to attract people to our downtown area, and specifically mid-brand. We need to help those merchants. As the retail base sort of moves towards the south, towards the Americana, we need to have people in that downtown, in that part of the city, and I think this will do just that. So I'm confident in going forward, and I think we'll have a great outcome, and it's going to work for everyone. And there's always this synergy when you have a number of hotels. I've spent a few days in downtown San Diego a few days ago. It seems like a year ago. And
Vacation will do that.
Right. And anyway, I mean, it was just incredible. Downtown San Diego just packed with people who were there staying in the hotels, lots of restaurant, lots of activities, and so I hope we'll do the same in downtown Glendale. I know we will. There's no question about it.
Thank you, Mr. Goodman.
There's a motion.
Have any other comments? Okay.
No, I think
Do we have a motion?
Mr.
We have a motion and a second already.
Yeah.
So then, which mine? Yes,
Agency
second.
members? Agency members Najarian?
yes.
Quintero?
Yes.
Weaver?
No.
Stefan? You
Believe it or
said-
not, that was you under all of that, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Chairman Jeremy?
Yes. Okay. Let's have the next item, please.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there agency member
I
or
think
staff
we have
comment?
agency member and staff comments. Do we have any? I have one. I would like to mention to our Director of Planning, who is here, and I would like to know if you could bring back to us some information as to how we may include the use of museum space, exhibit space, and/or gallery space to be included in the mixed-use idea, so that we may find ourselves with projects coming into our development area. Instead of just providing a hair salon or a convenience market on that ground floor, we might actually have some self-financed exhibit, gallery, museum space, so that all the people staying in these hotels, 5-star, 4-star, or other, have something to do in Glendale once they complete their shopping at the Americana and the Glendale Galleria, so that they're not just in their cars and spending their money in Pasadena at City Walk, at Universal City, and so on. I'd like to see that as perhaps an incentive in some way that we can provide to encourage that, instead of just traditional mixed-use retail on the ground floor.
Okay, will do.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Yousefi.
Mr. Chair, it is my understanding that Mr. Agani is coming back to us with some modifications to the downtown-specific plan, apparently dealing with the open space issue and so on and so forth.
Right.
Is it possible to also incorporate this item with that?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good.
We'll do that.
That was the hope, actually.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next item, please.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have new business, or where are we going? We don't have new business, I will assume. All right, then we're adjourned.
Second. Thank you.